Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Football Fandemic, where we are heading into week 4. Things are starting to shape up around the NFL. We're going to look at what's going on with our homers, what's going on with the AFC, the NFC, what teams are undefeated, all that and more here on the Football Fandemic. Welcome everybody once again. You got myself and Josh Haupt with us here this morning. Let's pop up our names. Boom. Look at that. Got them. We're here to talk about some football. We don't have Brandon Colmark with us, so we don't have that Packers view, which I'm sure you guys would have been interested to hear today with their crazy game on Sunday. But we'll try to talk about that just a little bit. We are going to start, though, with some news from around the NFL. Not a whole lot going on, but I will say this. I thought about doing the reverse of all of the girls on TikTok and Instagram, trying to get guys going about like Kelsey's, career is going to take off now because of Taylor Swift. But then I realized this is just stupid. There's too many girls out there. They're having a good little chuckle on this. Okay, good job, all you TikTokers. Good job, all you Instagram girls. You got to make a little funny about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. And we think the other way. We think Taylor Swift might actually become a good singer now because she will be known by guys. Here's what I will say. I did see that, and this was on the Brandon Perna That's Good Sports kind of podcast. He said that, and he showed it from whatever website, but Travis Kelce jersey sales went up 400%. Because of all the little Taylor Swiftie girls who are like, oh, now I like football. I'll buy a Travis Kelce jersey. So I'm sure the NFL, as he was saying, will encourage more NFL players to date celebrities because jersey sales, man, NFL is all about making money, and that's big money.
So more stats for you.
Okay.
Since Taylor Swift appeared at the Bears-Chiefs game, which also she'll be at the next week's Sunday Night Football game, so that'll be fun because it's national television. But 400, like you said, 400% spike in Travis Kelce jersey sales. Kelsey's podcast, like New Heights or whatever, was Jason and Travis ranks number 1 overall on Apple. Kelsey adds 383,000 Instagram followers. 24.3 million viewers watch this game, which is the number one game of the week, probably all after for her first appearance. A 63% jump in female viewers ages 18 to 49. A 3 times increase in quote unquote Chiefs searches on internet. So and 3 times increase in Chiefs sales on StubHub, and the Chiefs sold more ticket in a single day since the start of the season.
You know what? Good for the Chiefs. Good for the NFL. That's all great for you guys. I'm just gonna say, I can't stand it. It's good. It's good for female viewers to see the NFL. But if they're just tuning in to see Taylor Swift, they're going to be sorely disappointed because the camera only points up there once or twice a game. Maybe this time it'll be more, but I'm going to say something to all of you. I'm going to say something to all you Taylor Swift fans out there. You're going to hate this. I have never heard a Taylor Swift song. And every time I say that, everybody's like, no, you've heard. And then they start naming names. And I have not. I don't listen to popular radio. I don't listen to Taylor Swift. If she's been playing in a store and I've been there, I've not even recognized the tune. I just don't care. I'm sure Taylor Swift is a fine person. I just don't get what all of it's about. I just don't get, I don't get why everybody's so excited about her. She's just a normal girl who I don't know. Anyway, Taylor Swift, big deal to the women. Good job, girls. You got yourself to Taylor Swift at football. So enjoy the football stuff, right? So anyway, we're going to move on from that. We will go on to talk about, though, I'm going to have Josh talk about it because I didn't even know anything about this. XFL and USFL agree to a merger?
I guess so. I mean, it's been in the talks for a couple of weeks now. There's not much announced. It's just, they agree to a merger, no financial deals yet, no contract, whatever. It's just they've agreed and they're working things out right now. That's all I got so far. But
so we don't know that it will take over this spring, after the NFL season.
I think the plan is for it to take over the XFL. Like it adopts both schedules. Like the USFL goes from like April to, I think, July or something. And then XFL goes from like February to March or February to April or whatever. So I think they're going to adopt both schedules, increase, more games. I don't know how many teams they're going to adopt or bring over from the USFL or whatever, but
How many did they have in each? Do you know?
I will look right now.
I thought it was like 8 in each.
I believe so. Yeah.
I might
But
be
I
wrong. It
believe
might have been 16. I can't remember. He's looking.
There's a lot of. It's hard because there's a lot of teams from the 1980s in here. So let's just go with 8 each. Honestly.
Okay, so if there's 8 each, that brings it to 16. So we're still half the size of the NFL. But as far as like an AFC NFC, you might have an XFL, whatever they make their conferences, and then you got your divisions, and then you got your conference. Yeah. So anyway, good. Maybe that'll be something for us to watch when the main drug is out of the system and we're like craving football of some sort. So, all right. Well, I don't really know of any other news this week. Do you, Josh?
Nope.
Not a big news week as far as like off the field stuff. We are going to talk about the games a little bit, but first I want to talk about like at the beginning of the year, we made some predictions, and every week we're going to talk about like, how did we do? I'm going to say this. We know that he's always ahead of me there.
Our names. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and throw it up there. I'll pull our names down.
All right.
All right, so we've got this last week's, and so we want to like kind of look at where we're going each week with these, because granted, we started with some of these really early, and we may not even still agree with them. But how did we do, Josh?
So we've improved one game every week. So we started 9-7 week 1, 10-6 week 2, and now we're at 11-5 with an overall 3-week record of 13-18. So honestly, not bad. I mean, that's like I don't know what percentage that would be. Probably like a 1.4.
Wait a minute. 13 correct, 18 wrong overall?
30.
30. Okay, I was going to say that's not that shouldn't work. But 30-18. Yeah. We're doing all right. If we're getting better, 1% better each week, we're doing what all the NFL coaches want their teams to do, right?
Exactly.
I don't know if we can continue that trend, but we'll see what happens this week. So I do want to go back. We didn't get to meet last week because of internet outages. I think I said it on my other podcast. We found out that, so we have Fidium Fiber, and we found out that Mediacom came along and stuck something in the ground and cut our cable, the competition, trying to keep us from broadcasting. Anyway, Mediacom, we got it fixed. So it looks like that did not work out for you. We are back on the internet, obviously, and we want to kind of recap just a little bit of what happened in week 2, because if we can remember back that far. So I'm starting with the Colts, and all I can remember is that the Colts played the Texans, right? Oh man, I keep hitting the wrong thing there. Colts played the Texans. Colts won against the Texans. And although I was super excited, I can't remember what that score was. I'd have to look back.
33-20, something like that.
Yeah, and I think that was the game that. Oh yeah, this was the game that Anthony Richardson got hurt in, went into concussion protocol. So he had in the first 6 minutes 2 rushing touchdowns. Now he got one of those off of a drive, went down there, and he ended up finishing off that drive. And then there was an interception and or a kickoff. Something happened. And they were really close, and he ran another one in. And on that second one, just as he got in, he took a pretty big hit from one of the Texans' defenders, and his head hit the ground. And he came back in and played for a little bit, but then he like went over himself and said, "Hey, let's check this out," and went into concussion protocol. Then and then that was no longer the team's call; it was the doctor's call. He didn't play this last week. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But Gardner Minshew had to come in the, I think it was still the first quarter, wasn't it, or was it the very beginning of the second quarter? He had to come in the first half, and he had a lead. He had 2 touchdown lead going on there, but he had to keep that lead, and he did. And so I think the 2 touchdown runs in the first 6 minutes could have been the MVP call for Anthony Richardson, but I know Gardner Minshew is not going to get like every look this season. He's only going to have a few times where he could get this award. And though I think some of our defenders were great, I'm going to give this one the MVP in week 2 to Gardner Minshew. Minshew Mania there. He came in and did what he was supposed to. Not only that, he came in this next week and played against the Baltimore Ravens and won. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I did not give him the MVP for week 3. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and talk about both of mine in a row. Then you can talk about both yours in a row. Week 3, so Anthony Richardson was not cleared from concussion protocol. As a matter of fact, he was just on the practice field for the first time yesterday. But in week 3, we played the Baltimore Ravens, and everybody thought, including myself, this is a loss for the Colts. Ravens are a tough team. They're going to come in here. They were, on the verge of 3-0. They'd won both their games before this. And against all odds, the Colts won. And I'm not going to lie, it wasn't pretty. There was a time where Gardner Minshew stepped out of the back of the end zone, gave them the safety. There were several opportunities to win that we just Alec Pierce dropped several balls again, and I'm like, Alec Pierce, or he got caught one and then stepped right out of bounds instead of running in this open field. And I just kept thinking, what are we doing? What are we doing? And then, of course, at the end of regulation, we get down there and Matt Gay's kicking like crazy, kicking these 50-plus field goals, gets us to over what would be overtime, except we're still in regulation, and they get down and have a chance. Justin Tucker, all-time great, goes to kick, and I don't remember how long it was. Was it like 60 yards?
60 yards or something, like 60 plus.
60, 61, something like that. He kicked straight down the middle, and I was like, it's over, because there was only like a couple seconds left. And then all of a sudden, everybody around me is like, oh my goodness, he missed. I'm like, oh, I watched that. That went straight down the center. It looked good. Then they showed it from another angle, and it was just barely short of that bottom crossbar. He was in front. He was just a little short. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So now we have to go to overtime, and I have to sweat longer, which I'm okay, but I just wish we would have won it in regulation. Instead, we get into overtime, and again, it looks like they're going to get us. They were down there in field goal range and looked good, and then they made like all kinds of mistakes. Right, they got pushed back out of field goal range and sacked, and Lamar went down and put his knee down, and the clock stopped, and it was like, oh, what's going on here? And anyway, all that to say, we got the ball back. We went down, and Matt Gay on another 50-plus yard to do his fourth of the game, his fifth field goal of the game, but his fourth 50-plus, he kicks it through, and that is why Matt Gay is my MVP of Game 3. Against the Baltimore Ravens, the most unlikely win. And now we're sitting at 2-1 with most of the good teams. There's only 3-0 teams left. We'll kind of talk about them maybe in a little bit here. There's a whole bunch of 1-2 teams and a couple 0-3 teams, but we're sitting in that 2-1 mix. And no, nobody has us like suddenly ranked at the top of the power rankings, but hey, we're at 2-1. We beat the Baltimore Ravens with a tough defense. This is without Anthony Richardson, without Ryan. I'm sorry, not Ryan. Our center. What's his name?
Ryan Kelly.
Ryan Kelly. Without him, some other players, we got in and we stayed in with a tough team, and their mistakes helped a lot, but we won. And now we're going to be getting back to Anthony Richardson, it looks like, or at least he's going to be taking the first team reps here in practice. And so it's nice to have Gardner Minshew as a backup, not going to lie. Now, will we look back and just feel like, man, we should have beat the Jags in week 1? Yeah, we'll think that. I thought that in week 1, but here we are. Who knows? Who knows where this season could go? So that's my Colts week 2 and week 3. How about your Commanders week 2 and week 3? Because you definitely want to talk about week 2.
Oh, yeah, week 2.
More than week 3.
I don't know, honestly, but I'm going to pull something up real quick before we move on so we can show, I guess, just show the stats of your MVPs of the week. So,
okay.
Gardner Minshew week 2 against the Colts, or against the Texans for the Colts had, and it was 19 when he came in, 19 for 23, so only 4 incompletions, 171 yards, and a touchdown. I'll get to mine later. And then
he only had 1 touchdown compared to Anthony Richardson's 2, but he came in and did what he had to, so he gets MVP for week 2.
Matt Gay, like you said, 1 for 1 for PATs. They scored their only touchdown with Zach Moss and Gardner. 5 for 5 on field goals, and then 4 for 4 from 50 yards, which is a record. So,
yep.
Yeah. So that's his MVPs for the week. I'll get to mine in a minute if there is any for week 3.
if there are any.
But for week 2, I texted these guys down like second quarter, whatever, down 21-3. I'm like, the season's over. This game is over. And lo and behold, Broncos have a terrible defense. They had an okay average one last year, but something happened. And the Commanders came back and they won, what was it, like 35-33 or something like that?
Now, I just want you to keep this in perspective. They won 35-33 with that defense, but the Miami Dolphins won 70-20. Or
We'll get to in a minute. Yeah,
yeah, it
we'll
was
get to
bad.
it when we get to week 3. But some people like that Hail Mary, man. I was watching that game like within the because it's not in my network. I don't have YouTube TV or whatever. So whenever I think it was the Jets and Cowboys game. Whenever that game was over, they showed like the last 5 minutes or whatever of the Broncos and Commanders game. And I tell you, right, I was with Evan and I was with my dad, and I tell you, right when that Hail Mary happened, or right whenever they hiked the ball, I'm like, this is gonna end in a Hail Mary. I mean, it's just the Commanders' way of going out, I guess. And
Hmm.
lo and behold, the Hail Mary comes out, goes through one guy's hands, tips off another guy's hands, right into the arms of the guy in the very back, scores a touchdown.
Was
Luckily, they
that
needed
Dotson?
no, it was the Denver Broncos.
Oh, they.
Yeah, that's why
Okay.
I knew it would happen. That's the way the Commanders work. They keep you on forever. But and luckily they needed 2 points to a 2 point conversion to at least tie it. And you go in there, and some people will say it was PI, but looking at it now, I mean, a lot of analysts are looking at it now and they're like, "Oh, this is a clean play." I don't see any grabbing. I see some grabbing, but I see more so grabbing to go for the ball instead of grabbing to pull down, if that makes sense. So it could have gone either way, but I guess it's just karma from last year whenever the Giants that whole PI call with the Giants and the Commanders last year kicked us out of the playoffs, basically where they were grabbing around our neck. So it's karma, I guess. It works out in both ways. We're even now with the NFL. But last week I put on my notes. Linebackers looked average or bad and need improvement. Week
You
three,
see Cameron's comment there on the bottom.
yeah, but he's also he's also saying that because he didn't. I don't know. He's probably playing the Broncos this week. That might be why. But Sam Howell looked like he arrived, which we'll get into next week with his coming week where he looked bad. But we Brian Robinson finally had his career game. I think it was like 90 yards and 2 touchdowns or something like that. Chase Young, he made his debut for the year after an injury, pretty much a full year off due to injury last year, and he had like a sack and a half, couple tackles for losses. It looks like he's back to natural form. Um, my MVP for the week, let me pull it up, is Sam Howell. I mean, not next week, but this week for week 2 against the Broncos. 27 for 39, played the full game, so 12 incompletions for the whole game, 299 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a great game for a quarterback that I'm ready to see blossom, but there will be some troubles, which we'll talk about in week 3, which we'll get into right now. Week 3 was not the week, and I knew it wasn't going to be the week. Sam Howell looked completely terrible, and I know he's gonna have some. He's gonna have some struggles. He's a rookie quarterback. He had like 4 interceptions and 199 yards. Some of those were on him. Some of those were on just the offensive line not giving him enough time, and a lot of that needs to be fixed. The offensive line issues and a lot of his issues need to be fixed. He needs to stop holding on the ball holding onto the ball for so long to the point where he gets sacked. Because sometimes there is a clean pocket and a clean security blanket per se from the offensive line where he has it, but all of his linemen or all of his receivers and running backs are covered to the point where he either A needs to throw it away and stop trying to make a play, or B take off with his legs and run. And like I said, it's not the end of the world. There was a couple quarterbacks from our homer teams on here that I'll give you their season stats really quick. For their first full season stats. Actually, I'll just give you one because I thought it would be better than. But 1998, Peyton Manning, 26 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. Look how he turned out. It's not the end of the world. There needs to be development, and I feel like Eric Bieniemy is the right guy for the job. There just needs to be some sort of development, some sort of learning, and that's going to happen. We're only 3 weeks in with Sam Howell. We're not. It's not like he. I know some fans are like, "Oh yeah, you need to bench him. He's done. Bench him mid game, whatever. Just give him a confidence." But that's not going to help him at all. He needs to learn in game, and benching him is just going to lower his confidence and lower his morale heading forward. And I know we play the Eagles next week, which we'll get into in a minute. But that defensive line is, if not probably on the same level, if not better than the Bills. So we're going to have a struggle either way. So you might as well put him in and just let him learn to maybe throw the ball away or become more mobile if he needs to, because that offensive line is going to crack under pressure every single snap against the Eagles. Speaking of offensive linemen, Andrew Wiley, our right tackle, just get him out. Put somebody else in. Put Cornelius New Lucas in. Put anybody else in. I don't know why Ron Rivera has this mindset every offseason where he signs these low end guys that are average at best, and he puts them in, and he wonders why they don't work. I mean, Sam Cosme at right guard and Charles at left guard, they've been pretty good. I don't think, I mean, we gave up 12 sacks or something, 9 sacks or something like that against the Bills, but I don't know how many of them came from the tackles and how many came from the interior guys. But overall, I think Sam Cosme and Saquid Charles are doing pretty good for offensive line of the Commanders, I guess you could say. They're average or above average play, if not. And the offensive tackles, Andrew Wiley especially, but Charles Leno's included in there sometimes. They need to either get better or you need to make an improvement off that offensive line sooner rather than later because you're stunting the growth of not only your quarterback and Sam Howell, who needs to learn, but you're also just like screwing yourself over because if you go into another 7-10 or 8-9 or 6-11 season like Sam Ron Rivera has been doing the last couple of years with the Commanders, you're going to get fired at some point because you're not producing results, especially under new ownership where Dan Snyder's like, I don't care. Josh Harris probably has a different mindset, especially
Mm-hmm.
a completely different mindset than Dan Snyder, where it's like, I'm just in it for the money. Josh Harris wants to win. He comes from a winning organization in the 76ers. I don't pay attention enough to the New Jersey Devils of hockey, but they probably do well enough, and I don't think he's going to have it. I feel like if this is another 6 to 8 win season and no playoff berth at all, I think Ron Rivera is either coming for like a management role, like an executive, kind of like Bruce Arians did with the Buccaneers last year, or B, he gets fired, and either way, Eric Bieniemy gets promoted to head coach from offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Um, Other problems I saw throughout the game, we strayed away from the run very often, especially in the first quarter, where Sam Howell was getting sacked often, and he was throwing these interceptions. I don't know what the numbers were, but we ran the ball, I think, like less than 10 times overall, maybe less than 7 overall in the first quarter. And you need to have a well balanced run and pass attack to not only catch the defense off guard, but counter that and come and make your offense more, I guess, confident in what's going on because it's not always on them, not always on the receivers to make the plays. It's on the whole team, I guess, if that makes sense. But so I'm hoping that week 4 going against Eagles, there's more of a well balanced run pass attack, and that makes for an improvement, at least score wise, because my score prediction, which we'll get into also in a minute, is not a pretty one. But interceptions for the defense, there's been so many opportunities where we had interceptions right in our hands or in our grasp, I guess you could say, in our reach, and we dropped them or didn't go for them. I don't know what the problem is, but that needs to stop because our cornerbacks, Kendall Fuller, I don't know what it was, but I think he only allowed 1 reception against Stephon Diggs, and he's playing at an elite level. The problem is all of our cornerbacks have been at their level. Emmanuel Forbes has been doing great among rookie cornerbacks. Benjamin St. Juste has been doing all right, and Kendall Fuller has been doing amazing. But the problem is these guys have the interception in their hands and they're not taking it.
And they need to go out there with the wide receivers and practice catching some
Maybe
balls.
that might,
Yeah.
yeah. But overall, I didn't expect I didn't expect it to be this bad for the Commanders Bills game, but I didn't expect us to win either. I expected it to be more like what did I put if we recorded last week? I put something like 31-20 Bills. So I expected to score more than 3 points, but I also didn't expect us to win. So, you know, not the end of the world. Sam Howell needs to improve. More of the story is that Sam Howell needs to improve. He'll get better over time. I mean, look at Peyton Manning, like I said earlier. Look at Peyton Manning. He improved. He went 13-3 his rookie season, which might be where we're heading, and then he went to 13-3 the next year and made the playoffs. So
Yep.
drastic improvement. Just coaching needs to help him out. I'm not saying it's all in coaching, but even Sam Howell has said, he needs to get the ball off quicker. The offensive line is not doing a fine job, which I completely disagree with. It's on both sides, but overall, this team needs to improve if they want to get any better. MVP of the week, another kicker. And I could have given it to Kendall Fuller because of the because of the interception, but I get that Joey Sly. I don't know who to give it to. One of my friends was like, "You should just put like a bench player that never played any snaps during the game, just because the game was so bad." And I was like, "I might, but at least we scored points, so I might as well put the guy that
Joey
kicked
got you 3.
our only field goal." See, if you look at the difference here, um, Matt Gay has three, I guess, ribbons or whatever. Uh, Rashawn Gary, who is the Packers MVP, who is Brandon, who's not here, said this was their MVP. He has two ribbons because defense is kind of harder to do, I guess. But my guy only has one ribbon because he only made one field goal. And if it was any other player, like any offensive or defensive player, if they did well enough, it would have had 3 ribbons. But I guess this is just where we're at with a franchise where you only get one ribbon, I guess, of stats.
There you go. So you kind of touched on Brandon's. Why don't we just go ahead? We're not going to talk all about those 2 games of the Packers, but he had Jaden Reed last week. And did they win last week?
No,
they lost, right?
I lost to the Falcons off of that like I don't know what you call it, but like that snap or like everybody, the Jordan Love was offsides basically or off ball start because So Jaden Reed MVP for Brandon, 2 receptions, 37 yards, 2 touchdowns. So touchdown on both on his receptions.
So even in that loss, this was his guy. But then this last week, let's talk about this game for a minute because he had Rashawn Gary, right? And this was a game where, by all counts, just like the Colts game, they should have lost because the Saints should have made a field goal that ended the game, and they didn't, right? They missed.
Yeah.
And so just like the Colts, the Packers got a chance to come out and be 2-1 and to feel really good about themselves. Jordan Love did look good in those last couple drives, taking him down the field and getting scores. He chose Rashawn Gary. Did he give a reason why Rashawn Gary out of everyone?
No, I just ask him and he says Rashawn Gary. That's usually what he says. So I just pull up the stats and I put it there.
What he says.
Yeah.
Well, I do believe Rashawn Gary did do a really good job. So I can see why he chose him. And so it would have been nice to have Cameron on here.
Evan.
Who?
Evan,
right. Have Evan on here, not Cameron. Evan, who was with us during that game, who was watching that game on his phone and was convinced, just like I was, that it was over, that it was lost, just like you were back a week ago with the Commanders. It's like, this is over. And then like this little slim hope, and then it's like it could be, and then it is, and excitement. And we enjoyed both. Colts and Packers were on, I think, at the same time, right? And we enjoyed watching
all 3 of our
watching the wins. Yeah,
because,
we were.
Because
we enjoyed watching the wins of those 2.
Well, the Colts. No, we enjoyed watching the wins of the Colts because remember Evan was like, "Dude, don't even turn the game on because it's 17-0. They're not going to win. They're doing terrible." And then we watched the Colts game. We never turned on the Packers game.
So anyway, that's our week 2, week 3 reviews. Let's go on and just do a recap of some of the other stuff that happened around the league. We know that, and let's just get this out there. The Dolphins against the Broncos was crazy historical. I mean, they put in their backups. They could have went ahead and got the highest score differential ever, the most score ever. They could have done a lot of things. And Mike, Dolphins coach, Mike McDaniels. Yeah. McDaniel? Just one.
I don't know.
Right? No.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Either way.
He said, no, we didn't need to do that. Our team decided to just go ahead and not get that. And that I think that's class. That's classy because they could have been in the record books, for who knows how long or ever. And they chose not to, but they scored 70 to, what was the Broncos' final score? Was it 20?
20.
50-point differential. Man, everybody who thought Sean Payton is fixing Russ Wilson, this is going to be so great together.
I mean, honestly, he is. I mean, it's not like a
but
Russ
there's
Wilson
more than a quarterback.
There is more than a quarterback.
A whole team, and that defense right now is bad.
Dead. Yeah.
And so the fact that you guys beat them by 3, was that 3 points?
Yeah. No, 2 points. But I mean, look at it. Like,
does
Russ
that
Wilson,
really speak well of the Commanders?
I don't know. I do not know.
You're like, I don't know. But you won. Anyway, you got the W.
Anyway, Russell Wilson's stat, I don't know. I don't watch the games, but stat wise, you can tell this isn't his problem. This is the defense. I mean, easily they gave up 70 points. It's going to be the defense's problem. You can't just keep
70 points.
You just can't just keep scoring offensively. Russell Wilson can't keep doing his thing to keep you in the game. But his stats so far: 0-3 record, 800 yards basically. 66 pass percentage rate or completion rate, 68 for 103. So 66 completion rate and 6 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. So stat wise, it's obvious Russell Wilson's not the problem. Sean Payton did completely fine, and he has 100.6 passer rating. So easily Sean Payton and Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, they have that chemistry. They're not the problem. I don't know who their
But
defensive
Sean
coordinator.
Payton is also the head coach over the defense. And I know defensive coordinator matters, but
I think their defensive coordinator calls their defensive plays.
yeah, it's bad.
It's bad.
It is bad. And it's kind of nice to see that after he threw Nathaniel Hackett so far under the bus to be like, you can't have a worse coaching job than what we came from. Well, they didn't lose by 50 points to anybody. Yeah. And so on the other side of this story, we have Tua, who is looking crazy good right now. His stats are probably like so high. I don't even, who has him in our league, our fantasy football league?
I think it's one of the Jacobs. Let me look.
You think it's who?
One of the Jacobs.
One of the Jacobs. Whoever
might
that Jacob
might be Dylan, honestly. I know Dylan has a Dolphins player, but let me look.
I don't have it open right here in front of me, so I don't know. But yeah, whoever that is, they're happy because
it's Dylan. Yeah, Dylan is number one in our league right now.
Oh, Dylan Cole.
Yeah.
Way to go, not basketball. That was a good quarterback pick. At least 3 games in, he's looking awesome. Now, again, I think last year they were 3-0 and everybody was like super high on the Dolphins, and then it kind of fell apart, right, when Tua got hurt. So let's pray that Tua doesn't get hurt. But when he's in the game, it does look good for the Miami Dolphins. And Tyreek Hill and Waddle wasn't even playing, right? He wasn't even playing.
No,
It's just crazy. It's just crazy how badly they beat the Broncos. So that happened. We have the Jaguars played against the Texans, and the Jaguars were supposed to be the winners of the AFC South. Everybody crowned them before the season, including us. And the Texans, who are a bad-looking team, beat them. Now, I will say this. C.J. Stroud, for as much grief as I give him, he's looked pretty good. This last game, he looked really good as a quarterback. And his development continues, and Trevor Lawrence, he just did not look great at all. If you watched any parts of that game, he didn't look good, and the Jaguars continuing to struggle. Doug Peterson was not happy with his team's performance. The Texans, they're sitting at 1-2. This was their first win, but C.J. Stroud at least looked good doing it, and they still have the Tank, whatever his last name is. All I can ever remember is Tank. What is it?
Tank Dell.
Tank Dell. Yeah. He's looking good too. So there's a chemistry there, and we'll continue to watch the Texans team. At the beginning of the year, I'm like, the Texans are going to be so bad. I also thought the Raiders were going to be so bad, and I thought the Broncos were going to be so bad. Broncos are. Raiders, I think they're 0-3, right?
No, they're 1-2. They beat.
They've won one. Okay, yeah.
They almost won last week too.
So
Sunday night.
Aside from the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo looks hurt again, like we thought he would be, we'll see where that team goes. But the Texans, who knows? They may get their quarterback at least in order, even if the rest of their team is not yet there. They've got some place at some pieces, and they got that. Was it Will Anderson? Is that his name? Mm-hmm. They've got some good pieces. They just got to start getting it together. We'll see.
I know it's only week 3, or we going into week 4, but the way these teams and all AFC South teams have been playing, even the Titans, I mean, they're on and off. They could be good, they could be bad. Jaguars, same thing. They look great week 1, they look okay week 2, they look bad week 3. The Colts, they look okay week 1, they look pretty good week 2, and pretty good week 3. This AFC South division is more wide open than we ever thought it would be. And I know it's only week 3 saying that, but just the way these teams are overall playing, it's anybody's division at this point.
I'm really hoping that we do not end up with that worst division in football. I wanted that to be the NFC South, Carolina, Saints, Tampa Bay. But Saints and Tampa Bay have been looking okay. Falcons have been looking okay. I mean, I know they lost this last week, right? Mm-hmm. But let's go on. Cardinals upset Cowboys. This one just blew my mind because the Cowboys for week 1 and week 2 looked so incredibly dominant. I'm like, yeah, the Cowboys this year are looking tough. And every Cowboys fan I talked to, I'd be like, yeah, your team's rolling. And then the Cardinals, who everybody thought was tanking the season and have played pretty hard the first 2 weeks, even though they didn't come out with wins, they came out and just they beat the Cowboys good. Dobbs, was getting it together. Their defense was doing what it needed to, and they beat them not by a close game either. It was they had some space in there in that score. And so Cardinals beating the Cowboys. What do you think of that, Josh?
Well, I mean, every NFC East team lost except the Eagles, so I guess that leaves the division wide open for us too if we can get things working out. So that's a good thing.
I don't know if it's wide open. The Eagles are 3-0.
Well, wide open for a playoff spot. I mean, we all expected
Oh,
the Cowboys,
for the wild card.
wild card. That we all expected the Cowboys to get that wild card. We all expected the Giants to be on the borderline, and at least that's open, I guess.
The truth is, if the Cowboys would have won, you would have had 2 3-0 teams in your division, and that would have spelled disaster.
Well, if we would have
down the
won,
road.
we would have been 2 or 3. Yeah. So
You would have been what?
if we would have won, we would have been 3-0 also. So
That's right. That's crazy. But the Giants, you got the Giants anyway. They're not. They wouldn't have been 3-0. So
yeah, okay.
anyway, that was a crazy one. Cardinals upsetting the Cowboys. Did not expect that at all. Did any of us call that as our upset of the week last week?
No, we didn't. We recorded last week.
Oh, that's right. We didn't record. Man, I thought that would have been a good one. Kansas City embarrassed. Well, the Bears does that say the Kansas City Chiefs are really good, or that the Bears are just the Bears? Because I'm not going to lie to you people, all my Bears friends and family and fans, they're over it. They're tired already.
Oh, yeah.
We're
They're
in
done.
the third week of the year, and Justin Fields does not look improved. No other part of that team looks improved. DJ Moore is not catching the ball. He's not even hardly being targeted, but when he is, he drops occasionally, and everybody is like, and Justin Fields is throwing the coaching under the bus, the coach stuff. There is problems with their defensive coordinator. We still don't know exactly the story there, but his house was raided. The team facility was raided. The team facility had like $100,000 of equipment stolen.
The equipment thing is true. The house rating and the facility rating is not true.
Oh, that didn't happen at all?
No, that's a myth.
Man, I fell for it, guys. I mean, I haven't been like really pursuing Bears information, but I fell for it. I'm like, oh, his house was raided. That was like in so many different places. Well, something happened with their defensive coordinator. He's gone, and yeah, they've had equipment stolen. Justin Fields has said, yeah, the coaching's a problem, but then he's not doing great. He's not throwing the ball better.
You can't put the blame on you can't put the blame on one single person. You're honest. So the defense is bad, very bad. Pass rush is non-existent. The secondary is non-existent, but sometimes existent, I guess.
Non-existent, but sometimes existent. That's a Josh classification right there.
Yeah. The coaching offensive coordinator that Luke gets who calls their plays, he's not doing anything to help. I mean, at some point, all these screen plays are going to become so predictable where, you expect it and you can jump the route easily. The offensive line is not helping Justin Fields at all, and even when he does have time, the receivers aren't open. I don't know what the rate or percentage rate or whatever you want to say of how, when Justin Fields has the ball in his hands or throwing the ball, ready to throw the ball, and how many I guess percentage of how many times the receivers have separation where the ball could be thrown, if that makes sense. But it's probably low because these receivers are not doing anything. So the blame isn't on everybody, but I mean, and on any single person. The blames could be on literally everybody in that organization, and they're not helping Justin Fields develop at all because kind of like the Commanders, they're not signing top tier offensive linemen except they drafted Darnell Wright, which is great.
But
they're
here's
not
the
signing
question:
offensive linemen. Their weapons that they thought would be so great in Claypool and more, they're dropping balls. They're not getting open. They're not helping him at all.
So here's the question: regardless of if it's his fault or not, the Bears are looking like they could be fighting with the Broncos for the worst team again in football. If they end up with the number 1 overall pick, either one of them, do they go Caleb Williams and get rid of their current guy? Is Russ gone or is Justin Fields gone? If either one of those end up number 1,
I believe so. Whoever goes number 1, and they might have a chance to do it twice. Not really twice, but the Bears have double chances because they have the Panthers pick, is what I'm saying. So they could go.
Yeah. Panthers are also 0-3, aren't they?
Yeah. But the funny thing is, which we'll get into in a minute, the Broncos play the Bears, both 0-3. The Panthers play the Vikings, both 0-3. So two of them's got to get a win over those 4 teams. But
I think the Vikings are going to beat the Panthers
easily. I don't know what the Broncos Bears. That's a coin toss basically. But I do believe, like you were saying, I believe both teams draft Caleb Williams because Russell Wilson's getting old. He's 35 probably now. He doesn't have the mobility. He's starting to lose mobility like he had in his prime. And Caleb Williams has that mobility. Not really has it, but he has enough of it. And learning from somebody like Russell Wilson has that, who is that same person, that same quarterback, I guess, for a couple of years, just like the Packers did with Rodgers and Favre, or Favre and Rodgers and Love, would be great. Russell Wilson plays out his contract, teaches Caleb Williams, and he
I
turns out to
don't see that happening. I don't
maybe.
see Russell Wilson playing while Caleb Williams is sitting on the bench. If you draft somebody overall, number 1, I think it's just like the Colts drafting Anthony Richardson, number 4. I think you start him. This whole thing about like, oh, they need to let him sit there, damaging his career. I don't agree with it. I don't.
Yeah, I can understand that. But then the Bears side of things, Justin Fields was drafted in 2020, I believe, 2021. So he's on his either last year or second to last year, the year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, do you bench him and then let him go and not even try to re-sign him, trade him, not even try to re-sign him in free agency, start Caleb Williams and have him be the backup,
You trade him because somebody in this league thinks I could fix that. I could take and scheme with him. There's some team that has like bad quarterbacks that would take Justin Fields.
And I know I've talked to a couple of my Bears fans, Harley, who you saw this weekend, and Cameron, and they're both fully on board. They both agree that if Justin Fields doesn't work out, whether it's coaching or overall team, that you just got to go with Caleb Williams to have somebody new, have somebody that can do something that might excite Bears fans. You know what I mean? Because right now there's nothing that is exciting Bears fans.
Off season, they were excited. The whole trade out of first and everything they got and getting DJ Moore and everything looked roses, but boy, how it changes. 3 weeks in, everybody's like, boo. Hey, let's go on. Let's move on and talk about what we think is coming up in week 4. Let's talk a little bit about our homer teams first. I'm going to start because Colts play the Rams this week. And I have a feeling that this is going to be 2 games where the defense really makes its mark. Matthew Stafford looked great in one of the first 2 weeks. I can't remember which one it was. He did not look great last week. And so he is one of those up and down. And the NDD under Gus Bradley has been playing surprisingly well, better than our offense. They've done a lot of stopping, and I see them like really getting to Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, who looked like he was going to be, connecting with all these young receivers, just wasn't doing it last week. And I think they'll keep him in check. And I think Aaron Donald is going to give Anthony Richardson fits. Aaron Donald is just a good player, and he's not the only one, but he is so dominant. I think it's going to be really hard for Anthony Richardson just to run all the time, but he may end up being pushed out of that pocket from the center and like running around. He may throw, I don't know. I've got it a low score, 16-13. I'm going to give it to the Colts this week. I know I'm a homer. That's maybe not everybody on this podcast's opinion. Not everybody in the media will agree with that, but nobody in the media last week picked the Colts to win over the Ravens. You looked at those picks, it was Ravens, including us. Colts won it.
So you mentioned the defense of the Rams, or at least Aaron Donald, and you mentioned the defense of the Colts. I pulled this. I like this, so I was hoping to remember it. And I'm glad you said it because I remembered it. This is a Colts tweeted this. This is a defensive appreciation post. 23 tackles for loss, first in the NFL. 12 sacks, second in the NFL, tied. 7 forced fumbles, tied second in the NFL. So their defense, the Colts defense, has put in work. And I know there was something about the offensive line they did also that were like they allowed 0 sacks the last 2 weeks or something like that. So both of your lines, your defense overall, but basically both your lines, offensive and defensive liners, put in work, and you're doing something that I guess the Commanders aren't doing.
Well, let's see how this works out this week against the Rams. Maybe we'll end up at 3-1. Maybe we'll end up at 2-2. Either way, I'm happy with the progression the Colts are taking. I can tell you this. Frank Reich in Carolina is 0-3. And if he were with Indy, I fully expect we would be 0-3. That's the way he started every single season he was here, 0-2. He's just a slow starting coach, and it's so disheartening. I feel bad for the Carolina fans. They're so excited about their young quarterback, and I know he didn't play this last week either, but the whole coaching of Frank Reich and the play calling, 0-3 does not surprise me there. It's good for me just to feel like, hey, we got a couple wins early. I don't know what we'll be all year, but Shane Steichen is actually working harder, better. I like Shane Steichen right now. I love Frank Reich as a person. I don't want to come off that I didn't like him as a person, but his coaching would frustrate me. And so I'm glad we have Shane Steichen, and I'm glad the Colts are at least 2-1 right now. What about you? What's coming up this week with the Commanders?
Another hard game, another top tier defensive line, another top tier defense, Commanders at Eagles.
Yeah.
Just
one of the 3-0 teams.
Yeah. So one of the three left. Yeah. So the only good thing I can, only positive thing I can, couple things, positive things I can come seeing from this game is we play a tough team. All right, it gives Sam Howell even if he gets sacked 12 times like he did last week or
12
whatever.
times.
I don't know what it was. I promise you it was something high, something double digits, but against the Bills, if he gets sacked at double digit times and those these interceptions, I'm not surprised. I'm upset. I'm not like I guess I'm not surprised, but I know there needs to be progression. But the only positive thing that comes out of this is he gets to learn against the top team in the league. Not only that, but the week after, I don't know. We play five. We have a Thursday night game against the Bears, and then we play the Falcons and then the Giants before we play the Eagles again. So 3 week stretch of teams that Sam Howell can easily bounce back from, learn from these two losses, or this loss against the Bills, then the eventual loss against the Eagles, and bounce back and against the Bears, Falcons, and Giants, and become a starting, an average starting quarterback, the ones that we want to see in the Commanders. But
And you're hoping that the second time he faces the Eagles, maybe there's a
maybe
chance.
at home, maybe at chance. Yeah, just depends on how we're early in the season. Maybe the offensive line gets some discipline. I don't know. I really don't. But otherwise, I'm glad we got the two Eagles games out of the way early, October 1st and October 29th. So that's a positive, I guess, because I mean, the rest of the season looks kind of up and down, as in like we play a hard team and then we play another bad team. So there's
Yeah.
there was always a path for learning, and I'm just glad we get the two Eagles games out of the way early because then you can learn at I guess a better pace than just playing Bills, Eagles, Cowboys, back to back to back, which is not happening. But just very top tier defenses back to back to back, where he can have some time of playing a bad defense, getting his groove back in, getting his confidence boosted back up, and then playing another tough team where maybe that confidence travels, or I guess travels into that game, and he plays at a higher level than he did the last time, or something like that. You know what I mean? But if there's a
So
chance, so yeah,
you're
go ahead.
saying there's a
So
chance.
you're saying there's a chance, but
All right. So what's your score prediction here?
what I was saying, if there's a chance that we actually win, because Ron Rivera, for some reason, has this weird way of winning one game he never should win every single year. Last year was the defeating Taylor Heineke defeating the undefeated Eagles,
Yeah.
and the year before that, 2020 or 2021, I can't remember which one. It was the Commanders and Alex Smith, I believe, beating the undefeated 11-0 Steelers. So for some reason, he always has this game. I don't expect it to be this early. Maybe it's the game against the Eagles in 5 weeks or whatever. Yeah, 5 weeks when they play on October 29th, when they're like 8-0 and the Commanders go in at home. Eagles go into FedEx Field, and
I
the
think
Commanders
that's
beat
when
them.
they did it last year, right? At 8
Yeah,
now.
something like that. Maybe I think it was double digits. But anyway, Ron Rivera has one game up his sleeve every year where it's like, yeah, you're not going to win this one. I don't care your record. We're going to come out and beat you. And maybe it's this game. Maybe it's not. But if it is this game, the keys to victory, one, you have to have a balanced run pass attack. You can't just rely on Sam Howell to throw 50 passes a game and 5 interceptions and maybe win. You can't rely on that. You have to incorporate Brian Robinson, because that guy is a power back. That guy's going to run through the defensive line. He's going to get a couple yards every time. He's never going to get. He rarely gets tackled for a loss. He's always going to get positive yards. So setting up that like 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 7 or 3rd and 5 or whatever for Sam Howell to take these easy passes to get the first down is a very high priority for this team to win. You can't put him in a 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 15 situation and expect him to find someone deep downfield, because the Eagles have Darius Slay and they have James Bradbury, who are going to be on Terry McLaurin and either Dotson or Curtis Samuel all day. So his receivers aren't going to be as open as expected. So you have to have a balanced run pass attack to set up those 3rd and 3s or 3rd and 5s or whatever, so he can find Curtis Samuel or Dotson under the middle on a slant for a first down and keep that ball moving to score points. Secondly, your defense, like I said earlier, for the Bills, the defense needs to take I guess control or take advantage of these missed opportunities that they need to turn those missed opportunities of of dropped interceptions or whatever into advantages, and actually I guess get the interception, because that's what will set up the Commanders in somewhat of a chance to win. Getting these turnovers, like keeping the Eagles from scoring. So
So all
those are
the
the two,
things that were bad about this last week need to be
basically.
good.
Basically. And over, I mean, I'm going to say this every week, so I'm not going to mention it as much this week, but The offensive tackles need to play well, offensive line in general, but more so the offensive tackles need to play at a higher level because we can't just have Sam Howell getting sacked 12 times a game and expect him to be good. Ron Rivera, I know you know this. You've been in the league for too long not to know that you're not going to have a successful quarterback with a terrible offensive line. This needs whether you move people around, put Sam Cosmi back at right tackle, put Andrew Wiley at right guard, or somebody else at right guard. I don't care. You need to find a system or in an offensive line that fits Sam Howell, that protects Sam Howell, and gets him to have enough time to throw the ball. And then Sam Howell, if he needs to, also another thing that is key to win this game is you need to throw the ball away whenever there's nobody open, or you need to run or get some sort of yardage, whether it's no yardage or just some sort of yardage on your legs. Just if there's no time to throw, I mean, if there's enough time to throw, but there's nobody open, you need to be able to work around your receivers, I guess, and not just hold the ball until, they finally, this isn't backyard football where everybody runs a vertical, but you're covered the whole way down. So you come back and you just run these loopy loops around until you finally get open because either the cornerback became tired, or B, you juked him out. That you can't just keep relying on these things to happen. You know what I mean? You just gotta take what you have, and if you have an open receiver, you take it. And if you don't, either run with your legs or you throw it away and move on to the next down.
Right.
But so those are the 3 to 4 key things that the Commanders need to do to win this game. But like I said earlier, I don't expect them to win, and I expect a much bigger deficit of a loss than I did than the Matthew has for the Colts winning against the Rams. But I expect the Commanders to lose 42-10 against Eagles. I don't think the Eagles defense is going to have any sort of problem against that Commanders offensive line. And I just think it's going to be another bad day for Sam Howell. Maybe if it's a good day, I'd be happy. But my expectations are not really high at all. Maybe a 2 out of 10.
42-10 after all those points of this is what they need to do to win. That's great. Well, let's go on to our marquee manure and my oh my, because in that we're going to kind of preview the Packers game a little bit. I'll go ahead and spoil that, but let's start with our marquee games for this week here. I'm going to go ahead and throw this up so we can look at these games as we go. Here are the games we've got going this week. And I'm going to say for my marquee game, and I think it's going to be the exact same for Josh. I think it's going to be the exact same for all of America. This Miami-Buffalo game. Dolphins at Buffalo. That's both AFC East. Miami off that huge 70-point win. Buffalo looking good again. Who did they play this last week? They played
the Commanders.
Right. How can I forget? We were just talking about that. Yeah. Both of them looking good coming into this. I think that's going to be a marquee game. I'm looking forward to seeing what that clash looks like as far as that lining up. Remember when we thought the Jets would be like big in this? Psh, boy, those days were gone in 4 snaps.
Yeah. So I want to, and just because we have our manure games, they're going to be low. We'll get to our manure games in a minute, but low scoring games, probably for newer games. If maybe they're blowout games, that's why we don't want you to watch them, because it's going to be like a 42-10 or 37-3 victory for a team like the Commanders had last week or whatever. But for a couple of these games, I want to give a score prediction just for fun, just manure games mostly, because they're probably both of our manure games are going to be blowouts.
So what do you think it's going to be?
Oh, we haven't gotten to manure game. I was just talking.
No, I'm talking about, I thought you were going to give a score prediction for Miami Buffalo.
Oh, yeah, we both have the same marquee game. So I was honestly, probably it's going to be closer than people think. You're not playing the Broncos defense. Miami is, and you're playing a top defense in the Bills. They have great linebackers. They have a great secondary, and they have an average defensive line. And I'm not saying they're going to cause problems because Jalen Waddle's back, and Tua has been looking great. And they have Tyreek Hill still. So that speed in most shirt, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and the other guy I can't remember. I think Devon Achane or whatever. Their speed is top notch. So you're going to have to be having fast guys on all of them. But I'm thinking this is a 31-27 win for the Dolphins.
I also picked the Dolphins to win this one. I think the Dolphins are on a rise. I think Mike is the right coach for them. I think the Bills are kind of plateauing. I could be wrong. We could get to the end of the year and be like, nope, the Bills took that next step forward. But it just feels like they're that team that's always like good and close, but never quite makes it. It's what they feel like to me right now. And right now, there's momentum going with the Miami Dolphins. Now, it could just be because of that Broncos game. Could be.
Mm-hmm. The problem is with you, like you said, the momentum. You just beat the Broncos 70-20. We all know the Broncos defense isn't great. So does that momentum become an oversaturated amount of momentum where they're too cocky and they're like, oh, we're going to go in and win, 70-20 again, and then they lose because of all the cockiness and does that play a factor into it? You know what I mean?
Right. We'll see. Let's go on to our manure game. I'm going to go with Josh, I think, goes a little different route with this one this week. He goes kind of more the route Brandon usually takes, and that is one good team against a bad team. I'm going two bad teams I don't even really want to watch. And I think my Bears friends would agree with me. Broncos at Bears. Those teams, neither one are inspiring to me. One of them is going to win. One of them is going to have a 1 in the column of wins. The other one's going to be 0-4. When that finishes, does that tell me anything about those teams? It does not. If the Broncos beat the Bears, I'll say, oh, okay, the Bears. If the Bears beat the Broncos, I'll say they were beat by 70 last week. Who cares? That really doesn't feel like it's going to tell me much about either team, about offense or defense. I feel like it's just, I'll be happy to know the score. Say the Bears beat the Broncos, great, a lot. So, let's say the Broncos beat the Bears a lot. So for me, That's the game not to even worry about. Broncos at Bears. What's that?
Got a
score prediction? I do not. You can come up with one. I absolutely have no idea.
Do it for my stuff then and whatever. Okay. But at least we know you expect the who cares to win. My manure game. Actually, Matthew was a little bit on track, but a little bit off track. My manure game, Chiefs at Jets, and the reason mostly is the reason because it's a bad team. Actually, not really. It's a bad team and a good versus a great team. That's one of the reasons. But the big reason is Taylor Swift's going to be at that game. Sunday Night Football. You know what's going to happen. Every time Travis Kelce gets the ball, it's going to pan all the way up towards their suite with the Kelce's. That
might be a reason not to watch this game for sure.
Taylor Swift right up there, celebrating every single time, every single one of his 10 catches is going to pan up to Taylor Swift, every touchdown. And look, it's going to be a game America watches because it's Sunday Night Football. They want to get their last craving of football before they go into the work week on Monday. And this might be the worst week to watch a Sunday Night Football game, honestly.
Well, all of the girls will be so excited because their little love crush team will probably win, most likely. And for all of us football fans, this might be a reason not to watch it. It's going to have this reverse effect. Everybody who loved Travis Kelce is now going to start to hate Travis Kelce because all we ever talk about is Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm. But my score prediction, 35-13 Chiefs.
Yeah, it sounds right. And the truth is, people out there in the podcast world, in the live stream world, we're not going to hate Travis Kelce. Let's face it.
Yeah.
On the fantasy teams, he's always going to score you a lot of points. So... All right, let's go to the My Oh My games. My Oh My games, we actually picked the same one. He switched, and that was the other one that I would have picked. So we're gonna highlight both of these that we think would be My Oh My. They could be surprising games or super interesting games. Mine is Lions at Packers. You got the NFC North. You got the two teams right now that Lions are on the rise. Packers, everybody was wondering, are they going to be on the decline? Jordan Love, even though they should have lost because of a field goal last week, but they got a bye just like the Colts. I'm not going to lie and say that didn't happen to the Colts too, but they're 2-1, and Jordan Love looked good when they got rolling. So if the Packers can come and beat the Lions, it's going to be that same old story for the NFC North. They're going to be like, why did the Packers have to be so good all the time? Another good quarterback. Or are we going to see the Lions finally say, I'm stepping up and I'm taking over this division? They beat the Packers at the end of last year to keep the Packers out of the playoffs. And, they didn't make the playoffs either because of a different game. But I expect the Lions to come into this one with a lot of readiness to beat them. But Jordan Love is not going to lay down. So what'll happen? My oh my. Let's watch and find out. I don't have a score prediction. I will predict I think the Lions are going to win. I whispered that because the Packers always come back and prove me wrong whenever I vote against them. So I'm going to whisper it. I think the Lions are going to win. How about you? What's your my oh my game?
So like Matthew said, I had the same game, Lions at Packers. And I switched because we had the same marquee game. We had the same my oh my game. And if it wasn't for the Broncos Bears game, we probably would have had the same manure game. So
it's true.
I switched to his other Ravens Browns game, or with his other my oh my game without even noticing. But my oh my game is Ravens Browns.
Yeah.
Simply put, Browns defense looks amazing. Their offense needs work. But
hey, Deshaun Watson finally looked like the quarterback they were wanting to get. They didn't have much of a run game, but Deshaun Watson actually looked good last week.
Yeah. So the offense is they're ascending in the right direction. The defense, they're a top defense in the league, top 10, I'd say. The Ravens, same thing. top 10, top 15 defense in the league. The Ravens offense, you just got to watch out for Lamar running the ball. They finally have weapons so he can throw to, so he's a dual threat quarterback finally. I think this is going to be a closer game than people think, and it's going to be more of a defensive game. Who can create more turnovers? And
I think the Ravens feel a sting from last week. Here's the truth. After seeing some comments from some of the Ravens players, I think they had already counted the Colts as a win for them. And they kind of overlooked the Colts, and because the comments all coming out were, well, I guess this just taught us you can't overlook any team. You have to play every game. In their minds, I think they assumed, yeah, we're going to easily beat the Colts. They've got Gardner Minshew. They don't even have their great rookie, and I think that sting is going to motivate them this week to come with a passion. But the Bears, the Browns, that defense, it's not a joke.
Yeah, no. They have a great pass rush in Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney on both sides. And then they have Denzel Ward and I can't remember who else, but Denzel Ward and a couple other great players locking up the secondary. So, they got things rolling, and they might be better than a lot of people thought they would be this year, but that just relies mostly on Deshaun Watson if he can get back. But my prediction is 24-21. Tucker's going to make the game-winning field goal this time. He's not going to miss it by a couple inches.
He's got some payback to do. All right, well, let's look at our locks and our upsets for this week, the new kind of category we've added. I've got my lock as what you have as your manure game, Chiefs at Jets. I was really tempted to go 49ers at Cardinals, but the Cardinals keep surprising me. I would have said them that the Dallas Cowboys would have locked against the Cardinals last week. So I'm a little afraid to vote against the Cardinals right now. So I'm going to go Chiefs Jets because Zach Wilson is obviously not the guy who's going to lead them. And I don't care what Robert Saleh says. He's not the quarterback that's going to lead that team to a bunch of wins. So I'm voting Chiefs on that one also. That's a lock. How about you?
I have wait, that's you. Eagles over Commanders. We already went over this. Just if there's a chance, probably a low chance, but I think the Eagles completely destroy the Commanders, simply put. We went over it.
I think when you say it's a lock, you can't say there's a low chance. I think you got to say this is a lock. This is gonna happen.
I think that's my Homer side talking though. So
it is.
If I'm not a Homer, Eagles completely destroy the Commanders. But my Homer side of me wants some sort of optimism to look forward to this game. You know what I mean?
Right. I get it. I was just going to say, this is your clue that we are, although we're homers, we do have an objective side to us that can understand. And so that homer part wants there to be a piece, but Josh is obviously saying Eagles are going to win over Commanders. He's being really objective there. Let's go with our upset of the week. Upset for me. I said earlier that CJ Stroud played really good last week, and he's gotten better each week. I see that as a good thing, and I see the Texans upsetting the Steelers this week because I think most people would say Steelers should win that game. Steelers didn't look great last week, and I think the Texans could do this one. So my upset of the week, Texans over Steelers.
My upset, Falcons over Jaguars. Just simply put, the Falcons look like they're an average team, a good team. They have a great run attack. They have a pretty good defense now. And the Jaguars just look lost, simply, but they look lost. They look great week one, and now they look lost. And I don't know if this is a game they get back on track, but I don't see it happening. I think it might be a couple weeks before they get back. Trevor Lawrence and the offense gets reconnected, I guess you could say. And I think the Falcons, the run game is what's going to lead them to a victory over the Jaguars.
Yeah. So, hey, that's our thoughts for the week. We would love for you guys to jump on any of our social media and tell us what you're thinking. But that's the way it looks like this week is going to us. But we know that we play the games for a reason, right? Colts over Baltimore. So join us next week as we talk about week 4, breaking that down, looking forward to week 5 and all that is the NFL on the Football Pandemic.